So, seterusnya dijemput our last speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Chang, Chimney. And let me introduce a bit about her. She is an Associate Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Faculty of Engineering Technology, Director of International Office, University Tun Hussein of Malaysia. She received her bachelor degree from UTHM, Malaysia, and PhD from University of Sheffield, UK. Her current research focus is on the sustainable geotechnique, ground improvement, dredge marine soils, characterization and reuse. Until now, she has supervised 5 PhD students and 1 still ongoing, and for 8 master students. She has published more than 101 articles in ISI and Scopus Index journals with H index of 9. Okay, without further ado, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Chang, Chimney to give her talk entitled The Humanistic Side of Supervision, The Untold Story. Okay, dipersilakan.
Thank you, Dr. Shikin. Very good. Still 5 more minutes to noon time, so good morning to all. I don't know whether I should ask that we take maybe 3 minutes break so that you guys can take a break. Nak pergi toilet ke, nak pergi ambil tambah kopi ke, nak ambil kuih ke. It's okay, we can start in like in the 2 minutes time. Is it okay, Dr. Shikin? So that's sebagian kan?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yep. Sementara tu, just if you want to chat. Yeah, while waiting before we start, though, I'll probably just tell you a bit about myself, which is not very interesting actually. Yeah, as Dr. Shikin was telling you, I did my degree in the, not UTHM at the time, actually it was ITO. I was a second batch graduating from the ITO UTHM at the time, sorry, ITO UTM, sorry. And then it was my junior batch. We were supposed to be the last batch actually, but then my juniors were not very happy about it, so they went to request that they also wanted to grad from UTM, so that was what happened. And after that it became Kurito. Of course, we know that eventually it was upgraded to UTHM. And to go further back, I did my diploma studies in Polytechnic Port Dickson. I got a diploma there, and thanks to Poly, wouldn't have come to where I am today without Poly really. So yeah, that's about where it is. I was born in Batu Pahat, to be specific. I was born in Taman Batu Pahat. My parents told me. I don't remember, obviously. That's why my IC has got 01 on it. And when I was a child, I couldn't quite understand. And then I realized that, yeah, I was born in Johor, specifically, as I said, in Batu Pahat. My parents used to work at the Sri Gading Pusat Kesihatan. My dad was an MA, my mom was a staff nurse. So they're both retired now. And then when I was born not long after that, I think when barely 2 years old, they were transferred to Malacca. And that was how I grew up in Malacca. And while I was born here, I very much think of myself as anak Malacca sebenarnya. My parents are still residing in Malacca, in Jom Pasir, for those who are familiar with Malacca. Yeah. So I've not seen my parents for 4 months actually, since the PKP began again. So, yep. What else? As Dr. Shikin mentioned, I'm from AMTEC, and my background is civil engineering. To be more specific, it is in the geotechnical engineering, so that is the part that plays with the soil. In civil, we deal mainly with 4 things. We deal with the water, the hydraulics, mechanic bandaya people, and we deal people who deal with structures, so with the structural people, and we have people who deal with the roads, and so those are the highway engineering and road construction people. And last but not least, we have the people who deal with the soil, and we call them the geotech people. So that's what all that is. Okay, so I presume you have come back from your toilet break, your tea break, and you have got your coffee replenished, tea replenished, and your curry pork in front of you while hanging on for lunch. I promise you I'll finish by 1, including Q&A, so that I wouldn't be standing between you and lunch. It's not very nice. And Dr. Shikin can testify to that. I speak very quickly. So you can believe me when I say that we'll finish by 1 o'clock. If I were too quick at any point, which my students always complain. But after a point, you get used to it. And if I speak too slowly, they find it weird, or rather, I find it weird. Anyhow, I hope you can hear me clearly. Dengar, Shikin? Boleh dengar?
Boleh dengar. Clear.
Yeah, okay, good. So we begin. Alright, so thank you very much to JC's FTK for I believe it's JC's Newton. But anyhow, to FTK for this invitation. Trust me, I am the most disqualified person to be giving you this not talk, to be sharing this with you really. So we try our best now. I hope that whatever I'm going to tell you, the bad, just leave it there. If there's any good, please just take it away and think about it a bit more. And I think a lot of, as you can see, I don't have many students. Dr. Hafiz has got a very decorous research and supervision track record there, as you just heard. Amazing. 20 odd students at one time. I'm still at satu angka tu, so it's kind of embarrassing really. But anyhow, I hope whatever that I lack in terms of the numbers of supervision and research grant and also publication can be complemented by the fact that I was most honored to serve at Pusat Pengajian Siswa in UTHM for 6 years as a deputy dean in academic and research. Yeah. So the years there with 5 deans, including our Prof has given me a lot of lessons really. And I always like to think that if not because of the 6 years in Siswa, I wouldn't be very much of what I am today, whether it's as a pensyarah, whether as a penyanyi, or whether as a pentadbir. So with that, I begin my story with you. That is on the humanistic side of supervision, the untold stories. Right, can begin go to the next slide, Dr. Shikin. Thank you. All right. I guess when we were students, we probably had this happening before. We have our workstations and cubicles really, and I don't always work. And when I do, it's always my supervisor is around to witness that. I think at one point or another we are nakal, cheeky ada buat macam tu kan. And the next slide please. And we sometimes wonder, just when we were students, whether we thought of our supervisors like karangnya. Macam Dr. Hafiz ada sebut, karangnya, banyaknya, dia bilang, I am talking about me lah. On the top right hand, you probably see that maybe our students sometimes actually membawang behind us and say, nothing brightens up the room like your absence. Oh, sedihnya kau dengar. I think the funniest would be on the top left hand corner for students. Happiness is when there's a no SG at work day. Oh, yang tidur-tidur, yang naik atas kerusi tak apa, kaki naik atas komputer tu yang tak tahan. Let's celebrate dengan teh tarik lah, kopi ais dan sebagainya. Kalau dah PKP tak ada, kalau kat Pak Raja, kami memang dekat sangat. Kalau kat Pagar, makan tempe goreng aja lah. Pun celebrate jugalah. So, while we may say, apalah student kita ni, we also must bear in mind that we were one students, we were also like this. So, even today when we work, when boss is not around, KJ tak ada, kalau terus tikus pun jadi, bukan rimau, tikus pun jadi kucing lah. Rimau tetap boss. Alright, next slide please. And is it moving? The next slide. Yeah, the thing is that sometimes we may forget them. We may forget that while we are chasing after the deadlines, whether it's for paper, whether it's for thesis draft submission, for progress report and things like that, sometimes we forget that our students actually are working hard. We like to think that it's like people say sangka baik, we always think the best of people, and the students always. None of the students want to do badly. None of the students want to be lazy. None of the students want to have their work lagging behind. None of the students want to feel that their supervisor is not pleased with their work. All students want to give their best. All students want to submit their best work. All students want their supervisors to think the best of them. And maybe sometimes we oversee, we terlepas pandang kan, terlepas pandang. And they have their problems as well. Maybe they have some problems in the lab. Maybe the test has been repeated enough times, and yet the results are negative. Maybe they are trying very hard in the lab, but the equipment broke down. They are using another equipment, stuff like that. Maybe they are struggling with other things in their life, tuition fees, for example. I think at one point or another, as supervisors, we have come across such situation. and students may or may not tell us. Yeah? And suddenly our students are keeping a lot more quiet than before. Then we realize that, oh, rupanya kerja part-time lah sekarang. Sebab apa? Sebab scholarship dah tak ada dan sebagainya, dia perlu kerja part-time lah, untuk dapatkan duit. Ada yang dia tak faham tentang literature review tu. Contohnya lah, kalau pelajar-pelajar yang peringkat awal tu, struggling to understand. Can read and read. My English is no problem, but I just cannot understand. I remember when I first arrived in Sheffield, my supervisor passed me 3 papers. That was the first time in my life, actually, I saw a journal paper. Now, honestly, coming from a time when the internet wasn't quite as speedy as it is today, and a lot of references were still in hard copy forms. So coming into Sheffield, and I was given 3 papers, and he told me it would make good bedtime reading. Of course, it was a joke, but to really understand the 3 papers, it took me weeks. It's not about the English, it's not about the vocab. It is about the content, it's about the lingo master, how a technical paper is being written in a Tier 1, Tier 2 journal paper of a related field. So I remember that, and that could be quite daunting for a student, kan? Kita anggap benda tu benda biasa, sebab kita dah biasa buat. Student, kalau research student, belajar lah, baca lah, kan? Tak adalah susah sangat. Tapi rupanya just to baca a paper is a skill. It's a skill. So maybe we need to look into that as well with our students. And we also like to think of it as when our students leave us, the day will come, our students will leave us, they graduate, they leave the nest, and they go away. There are 2 situations that can happen when they bring the segulung ijazah tu dan pergi cari kerja, orang kata, kan. And one is that we hear students come and tell us, thank you doctor, thank you prof, thank you PM, because of what you taught me, because of my thesis, I've been interviewed too, my boss is very impressed. The thesis is, my boss says that because it shows that I can work independently, my language skills are good, I'm organized, I can write a good report, I am shown to be a neat speak and span person from my writing, so I got a job based on the thesis. I'm sure my friends, you have come across such compliments from the students. And the second situation is that a student comes back to us and tells us that, wow, thank you so much for what you have taught me, the skills you taught me, the quote-unquote kerahan in the lab, in the workshop, all those hard work, all those no day, no night, all those 24/7 punya round-the-clock work, all those training to be better and stronger and more resilient. So today in my workplace, my boss can demand me anything. It's nothing like what I went through during my PhD training under you. So thank you very much for the training. So either of the scenarios or either of the feedback from the students to tell us that what we tell our students, how we lead our students, how we supervise our students really have a very significant impact on their lives, not just when they are with us and our students, but also after they have left us. And looking at this slide, allow me to share with you a small story. The story is about me actually. I'm sorry, ada sikit khawatir cerita pasal orang lain terbawang pula. Ustaz cakap kalau fitnah dosa, apa nama tu, umpat pun dosa. So kok lah terbawang kan, so I cerita pasal diri I lah. Saya umpat pasal diri I tak salah kan. So this was a little story when I had when I was in Sheffield. Myself and Keith Emmett, he's a British. We came in about the same time. I registered in September, he registered in November. So what happened was that we were under the same supervisor, and our supervisor happened to be one of the more serious guy in the faculty. So what happened was that Keith and I have got 3 similarities. Number 1, you already heard what I said. We have the same we share the same supervisor. Number 2, we are both Star Wars fan. A big time Star Wars fan. He's more big time than me. Alright. And number 3, we both love tennis. Okay. So all of these 3, because of these 3 similarities, then we kind of hang out quite a bit. Alright. And we are rather friendly with the wife as well, who is a Portuguese. Anyhow, the story goes like this. It so happened that the geotechnics work group, the workroom rather, had accommodate 7 of us, 7 orang. My workstation is exactly when I sit down, my workstation, my back is facing the door, meaning that anybody who comes in the door can see my screen. So whatever I'm doing on my screen, which is a super big desktop, is very clearly, it can be seen very clearly what I'm doing. Keith's workstation is exactly opposite, on the opposite end, meaning that anybody who comes in will not be able to see what he's doing because he's near to the far end of the room and his desktop is facing the window, really. And my supervisor, our supervisor, has his office 2 doors away from us. And our supervisor has the tendency to walk into the room and surprise us. Okay, and you can imagine. I'm alright. I budak skema, so I buat kerja je lah, tak ada pun chatting ke FB dekat screen tu lah. But my dear friend Keith, dia sangat suka sawa lah. So bila downloaded this game, this PS4, no at that time it's PS2 ni, on his desktop. Walaupun black and white, walaupun tapping away on the keyboard, dia sanggup main to slashing away with the lightsaber. So he was always playing the game. It was very addictive code. So the time that he should be analyzing his data, he's tapping away on his keyboard very loudly playing the game. So every time the supervisor comes in, but because he is facing the door, he could see the supervisor coming in, he stop playing and shut out the screen and start doing other things. And when Wimbledon comes, Wimbledon now is in London, it's so close by now, 4 hours train ride away from the Sheffield. So there's a black and white telly in the room, so we will crowd around the telly and watch a real-time Wimbledon game, especially when our favorite players are on the field. That is one year once lah. So what I'm trying to say here is that PhD or Masters by research, the time that the student had is probably one of the best times in their life. Sebenarnya, with or without us. I say with or without us, of course we are always there. It's just that when we are there, meaning that they have to face us talking about work, talk shop, macam Dr. Hafiz cakap tadi kan, talk shop. And as time goes on, we let loose a bit because they know what they need to do. They are more disciplined, they are more matured. So second year onwards, probably we can lepaskan sikit, lebih sikit, so they are more freedom to deal with things. Maybe we don't see them that often, not 1 week 3 times, and not maybe one time or 2 weeks once. But during year 1 or sem 1, then we have to pegang ketat sikit lah kan, supaya they train up. But when they're not with us, that is what happened kan in their workroom and in the group. That's what they do. They talk about.
Sorry to interrupt. Sometimes we lost your voice actually. Maybe there is something wrong with the internet.
Right.
Perhaps you can stay close to the laptop. I don't know, I guess.
Okay. I'm using this.
Sometimes it's very clear. Sometimes we lost.
Right. I'm sorry if I think it's my line really. Whenever you lose me, please just ask me to repeat if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay, no, okay. Yeah, good.
Okay, thank you. I do apologize for that. This taman manis Pak Raja punya line ada hari sangat bagus, ada hari yang horrendous. So maybe this is one of the days because it's cloudy, then there's a possibility of meatballs coming down. Maybe. Okay, so itu aja nak kongsikan about me. That was me and Keith back in Sheffield. So the gist of the story is that students do what students do. I use present tense now. We were one students, as I said, we did what we did. We did what we had to do. The students today still do what they have to do, and it's a similar thing. It's just probably different medium again. Okay, the next slide, please, Arthur. And if you look at this little picture here, what do you see? Probably some of you will see a duck. Probably some of you see a rabbit. So really, we all see things differently. For the same thing, we see it differently. And even the obvious. So sometimes we say this, we think it's common sense. Common sense, okay, it's not common knowledge. Common sense is not common knowledge. Not everybody thinks of it as something that's common, so people don't do it, people don't practice it. So similarly with our students, sometimes probably we ought to see things from their point of view, try to turn the table around and remind ourselves that we were one students as well. What would they be feeling? What would they be thinking when we have spoken to them like this? When we have said something like this to them? When we have scribbled something like this on their thesis draft? How would that make them feel? Is what we have done is should we say something after that? Is that pujuk balik lah macam tu contohnya. Because of perception, perception is always different. The same thing, different people have got different views of it, especially with students. Macam tu. The next page, Doctor. Okay, so now that is the mukadimah, 10 minutes mukadimah. Now we move on to 8 stories. So you can see it will finish on time, trust me. Okay, I plugged in just 8. I thought it's a nice number to remember. So let's look at the first one. It is about a very common quote Yeah, something that we learned even during our kindergarten days. So, do unto others what we want others to do unto us, or reversely, don't do unto others what we don't want others to do unto us. Senang cakap, buat baiklah pada orang kan. Jadi, what we are trying to say here is that the good that we do sebenarnya is important to our students, because if we behave badly towards our students, then the students may think that is alright. Our students may think that, look, my professor does that one, so it's okay to be rude to the technician. Contohnya or we may see that our supervisor say something to someone, the next day tak kotakan janji. Contohnya dengar depan-depan nampak dia janji kat pensyarah seorang lagi. Besok kita jumpa kat lab pukul 10. Besok pukul 10 I tengok dia kasih ni lagi. Yalah dia tengah buat kerja komputer, tapi dia bukan janji pukul 10 ke. Then bila member tu call pukul 10.30 tu, I dengar ada supervisor cakap, I tengah sibuk ni, nantilah. Jadi kawan tu dah tunggu setengah jam dekat lab. So as a student kan, kalau kita tengok supervisor macam tu kan, kita mungkin rasa itu okay je, boleh je, tak ada masalah, late by half an hour, tak ada hal kan. Contohnya, what I'm trying to say here is that when we do something, especially towards our students, onto our students, and that is something that we regularly do, and lama kelamaan, students will see that itu macam sesuatu yang acceptable lah, yang tu. So it's we've got to be a bit more cautious with what we do, because students in a way they model after us. In other words, they put us on the pedestal and see us as role model. Macam Dr. Hafiz sebut tadi kan, students usually identify and start looking around for supervisor, and usually ended up registered with this supervisor from word of mouth. Yeah, a lot of it is from word of mouth, and also a lot of it is that they look up to us. They look up to us. They wanted to be like us. Not just in terms of the research, not just in terms of academic achievement. They look up to us. They emulate us. They mencontohi kita. Dia nak jadi macam kita. So kita rapat dengan dia kan. Kalau ada buat research supervision, the research kind of relationship. Kalau master pendek-pendek pun setahun. Kalau PhD cepat-cepat pun 2 tahun, 3 tahun. Usually it extends beyond that lah kan. And what do we expect? The students have so much of time spent with us, and sometimes they spend more time with us now than with their parents or their family. And sometimes they spend more time now with us than with their spouse if they already have a family. So it is very important that we are always showing good examples, and that we show that we are compassionate. For example, we try to practice kindness. We try to practice more consideration when we deal with our students, so that they feel that they are being cared for. Nobody dies of being cared for. Nobody dies of a little bit more of a TLC. But we hear of baby dying in their crib because no one touched them for 2 days in a stretch. We hear of that. Babies cannot see yet. So newborn babies can't see yet. So newborn babies feel that their people around feel safe when people touch them and people hold them. That's why babies cry. That's why babies dililitkan dengan kain kan, dengan selimut. So they feel safe as they were when they were in the womb. So similarly, when we grow up, it doesn't mean that when we grow up, then we are all strong and brave and amazing, then we don't need any more of this TLC. Maybe as we grow older and older, we need more and more TLC. We don't know. And especially for a student who is undergoing a PhD or master's research study, it could be very lonely. Hanya student dengan kita dia tahu pasal projek dia. Orang lain tak berminat nak dengar lah. Orang tak berminat nak dengar. Orang tak tahu apa yang tengah buat. Orang tak berminat. Jadi student tu kalau tak cerita kat kita, nak cerita kat siapa lagi? Masalahnya dan sebagainya kan. So itu we try to bear in mind, do unto them how we would have wanted our supervisor to have done to us. And if I ask you, you probably will come out, I ask you about your supervisor, the thing that comes in your mind will be all the good things that your supervisor has done to you. You probably will have blocked out all the bad things or unintentional bad things like kena tegur dengan supervisor, kau kena marah supervisor dan sebagainya kan. Because the good things will be remembered and the good things will rub off on our student and be carried forward. That's why if you look around us then, my dear friends, you see that the way we treat our students, I don't know, 70-80% is the way that our supervisor treated us. Macam tu lah. Okay, next please, doctor. And then we move on to talk about integrity. We say practice integrity, and sometimes integrity treads a lot of very fine line. It's a choice between what is convenient and what is right. Then what is right? When you say what is right, then there's stretching it into realm of moral values. And I say moral value is very subjective. You rasa ini moral, I tak rasa ini moral dan sebagainya. Then in general, we talk about integrity, we talk about being honest, we talk about being consistent, and we talk about being credible. And probably one of the closest word to integrity, which has relation to the faith, is sincere, ikhlas. And so what is sincere? What is ikhlas? Well, if you look at the dictionary, it says it's being genuine and truthful. Genuine and truthful. So truthful has a synonym in honest. And if you're genuine, you're being original. The copy original. So if you're being genuine, original, and truthful, then you have integrity. That is what it says. Well, I guess the thing boils down to the thing that sometimes when we want to uphold the truth, that is to uphold our integrity, we create tension. We create a situation that is not very comfortable for everybody, including our students. We may be tutoring our student about plagiarism. We may be tutoring our student about punctuality. We may be tutoring our student about being respectful towards other people, not just because you are the supervisor. And tutoring is criticizing or commenting on somebody can raise a lot of unease or unpleasantness in the air. But is it necessary to tutor? Yes, it's necessary to tutor. Is it a must to tutor? Yes, it's a must to tutor. So that is where we talk about integrity, being nice or being upholding the integrity. And you say what you need to say, you do what you need to do, even though it is going to cause the student some unhappiness for a short while. It may even make the student cry for a bit. But a little bit of tears, a little bit of blood is not to kill you during your PhD study, for example. And we got to bear in mind as well that, remember the first point I talked about, the students look up to us, so it's very important that we do not do this NATO. And not that treaty, not the military alliance. NATO means no action, talk only. A very big part of integrity is about keeping our words, keeping our promises. If I promise our students a certain thing, even a simple thing like keeping a promise of seeing the student tomorrow at 10 o'clock sharp, then we keep the promise. If we cannot keep the promise for whatever reason, a sudden call for meeting, a sudden discussion, emergency, we inform the student and not let our student wait in limbo out there of things like the student has got better things to do. Good. In these days when there's a handphone around, there is no more reason for us not to keep people informed, I guess. And now times maybe there is no handphone and it's a situation where dah janji dengan supervisor pukul 10 pagi, betapa lah kat luar bilik nampak supervisor kat dalam tengah ada meeting dengan orang lain, kita tunggulah kat luar, pandai-pandai lah bawa bahan bacaan dan sebagainya. You ada handphone pun you tak akan berani nak text supervisor kata kenapa tak bagi tahu I pun. Of course students these days are a lot more different, they are a lot more upfront with what they want to say. Some students, so they may just text, why didn't you tell me that you are not in after us, things like that lah. Pun ada yang quite tak berapa guna common sense dan tak berapa masuk akal. Every 5 minutes text, kenapa you tak ada? You kata nak jumpa, you tak ada, things like that. Maybe sometimes emergency tak sempat kita nak text dan sebagainya. Dan berkaitan dengan integrity ni, izinkan saya, my dear friends, to share with you a little story. Bukan cerita, saya terdengar Ustaz cerita semalam tentang Saidina Umar. Desakan sangat Khalifah. So what happened with Umar is that he is known to be a very upright man, very upright, very honest, very upright. So there was once it was said that the Prophet was giving his lecture, and Prophet was talking about along the lines of, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys know this better than me. Prophet was saying something along the lines of, if you love me, you have to ask yourself, if you love me more than you love your life, can you actually genuinely, honestly say that you love me more than you love your life? Because in a way, if you love me more than you love yourself, and that is, in a way, a partial chapter for you to enter Jannah. So all the other people were very quick to say, of course, we love you more than ourselves, and so on and so forth. For Umar went home and slept over it, or rather couldn't sleep over this question. And the next day, he came and saw the Prophet, and he told the Prophet, I'm so sorry, Prophet. I thought about it. I can give up everything. I can give you my money, my heart, my time, everything. But when you talk about giving you my life, I thought about it. I tried to play this in my head. If there's an arrow coming now, those days there's no bullets, this arrow. If there's an arrow coming your way, would I be that quick and that willing or spontaneously come before you and take the arrow for you? And the more I think of it, I couldn't see myself doing it. I couldn't see myself doing it yet. So today, I couldn't give you the answer of yes yet. To the extent, his integrity, to the extent, to know he is willing to do it, but to convince himself that when it happens in a split second, he would actually jump in front of the Prophet to take the arrow. He couldn't be sure of that because he couldn't see it in his head. He couldn't convince himself. So he admitted to the Prophet that he was not sure. He couldn't say yes yet. But of course, eventually he saw it and he said yes, obviously. These are issues with that. Just a little food for thought. The next slide, please, Doctor. And we talk about walking the talk. So this is about setting good examples. And typical example, we in the academia, we have rules and regulations here, there, everywhere. Academic rules. It is important to show our students that while we ask them to abide by the rules and regulations, we ourselves comply with the rules and regulations. Well, yes, we conform to the practices and policies. Yes, sometimes we moan and groan a bit. For example, grants, the simple thing like it used to be called GPPS. I've lost touch. I've forgotten what it's called now. Basically, the grant is given to research students. Simple thing. RMC has upgraded the system. RMC has introduced a new thing, a new form of stuff like that. And we got to fill up. We got a little bit more paperwork to do. So as a supervisor, in front of students say, Doctor, you kena isi ni. RMC kata kena isi benda ni online ni sekarang. Dah hantar itu paper, kata tak boleh kena isi online. So, mohon dan groan lebih, Allah apalah banyak kerja ni. Tapi mohon and groan 3 minit sudah ya. Bukan mohon and groan 3 hari masih cakap lagi and curse and swear. Maaf my language tentang RMC. They are doing their job and they are just trying to make the system better for all of us. So mohon and groan 3 minit sudah. Kalau boleh pendek ke 1 minit lagi bagus. Kalau boleh singkat ke 3 saat, tak sempat nak cakap, dah lupakan, sudahlah. So supaya the student akan nampak, tengok my supervisor, okay, we conform to the requirements and the norms. And another example yang typical probably tentang supervision tentang student ni is tentang self-plagiarism. I think we at one point or another in our career we come across this whether it's among our students or among our colleagues or even by ourselves intentionally or unintentionally. We self-plagiarize or we duplicate publication or we change the title and we publish a paper, do things like that. So these are little things that may seem very little in the beginning, but when it's done once too often, the students may think that it's an acceptable thing to do. The students may think that it's not an unhonorable thing to do. It's not honorable, but it's not unhonorable anyway. But it's different, right? To say it's not honorable and to say it's not unhonorable. Macam itulah. Jadi we got to be a bit cautious. Sebab students look up to us. So we got to set the example and we will comply to the rules and regulations and we show the students that we are doing it. So as this, one of the early, we call the president of China, communist country, tak payahlah kita nak emulate communism or things like that. But what this chap said, Deng Xiaoping, he said this and I think it makes a lot of sense. To summarize what he said, he was saying that about this cat, basically cats like to eat fish, and when cats eat fish, because of the whiskers and all, so they tend to have a fishy smell left on their lips, on their breath, really. And for those of us who are cat lovers and cats at home, you must understand what I'm saying. After the cat has its meal, but better don't come near us. Right? The cats are clean by nature, so they'll kind of rub their snout and their mouth on our garments and all, so we do not become fishy. So what Deng Xiaoping said was this. If you are a cat, by nature, you like to eat fish. And by nature, you like to eat fish means even when you steal a fish and eat the fish, you still steal the fish and eat the fish. Steal meaning that they see the basket, the auntie is not paying attention. Let me jump into the basket and take one fish. There are so many fishes that I take one, it's okay lah. I just take a small one. The cat, I'm not a lion, it's just tiny, weeny, kembung or stella maybe, things like that. So I start eating the cat, eating the fish. And then Xiaoping said, it's okay to eat the fish, but make sure you clean your mouth after eating it, because people will know that you have eaten the fish. So in a bad way, this is like, oh, it's okay to do something wrong as long as you're clever to cover your tracks. But actually, there's a twist to that story. It really is. It's not good enough. As a cat, you want to be a noble cat. It's not good enough to show that you do not steal fish when you're hungry. You go look for your owner, look for your tuan, and ask for me. You do not steal other people's fish. It's not good enough to say that I do not steal other people's fish. It is more important to show that you have no signs, tak ada simptom-simptom langsung yang you buat sesuatu yang jahat. I'm a good cat, I'm a noble cat. Not only do I not steal, I really do not steal. Come near me. If it's not my meal time at home, you do not smell fishy breath on me. To that extent. Oh, I leave it to you to think about it, my dear friends. Next slide, please, Doctor. Okay, next we talk about humility. Alright, humility never kills, nothing. Humility is not about thinking less of ourselves. It's about thinking ourselves less. We can think of it as sparing more time and thought for other people. So in this sense, we are talking about our students. Sebenarnya, kan? A lot of times, it is pride and ego. Pride and ego that gets in the way of us being humble in front of students. For example, we are late. We janji pukul 10 jumpa. The boss panggil, kita kena bincang 10:30 baru jumpa student. How often do we say, I'm sorry, I keep you waiting? Or we take it as it's our entitlement to keep students waiting? Or we take it as it's a student's duty to wait for the teacher to come in. Suka hati I lah. You nak tuntut ilmu dari mana, I tunggulah. Bukannya I sengaja ada kerja lain. Memang betul lah dia ada kerja lain. Tapi dia pun ada kerja lain juga. Dan dia dah datang pukul 10 lah. Dia tak sempat bagi tahu, dia emergency kan, bos panggil. Lalu apa salahnya cakap minta maaf kan? I remember very clearly kan, and I rasa sangat terkesan dengan Ustaz cakap ni. Dua perkataan dia selalu letakkan bibir dia. Orang tanya kenapa you asyik dua perkataan ni? Apa-apa pun. Kalau rasa out of context pun cakap dua perkataan ni. You know what are the two words that this particular Ustaz likes to say? Terima kasih dan saya minta maaf. Kasih dan saya minta maaf. So terima kasih we can imagine that it's not difficult to get it out of context, right? But minta maaf. Yang bukan salah Ustaz pun Ustaz minta maaf. Apa, macam mana ni? So, maybe we should be more ready with the apology. In fact, ready apologies is a sign of humility, if you think about it. We should always remind ourselves, do not let our title, I Professor Mahdi, I Doctor, I cikgu you apa. You know, we should not let our title, our authority, just because we can, that we are being a bit unkind. We are being unkind or nasty to our students. That we shouldn't. Because we know we have a lot of say, we have a lot of influence on our students. And when we have a lot of influence on our students, we should influence our students towards good, towards something that is good. And if we could influence by inspiring, why must we influence by scolding? Macam tu lah. I'm not talking about you, my dear friends, I'm talking about myself. If I could influence my students towards goodness, towards the right path, towards greatness in him or herself, by just saying nicely, by inspiring, by telling him or her how great she is, how great he is, how awesome he is, how much of potential she has inside her. If only she tweaked a little bit of this, if only she paid a little bit more attention on this. You see, how amazing that is if we make her change or make him realize the mistake by inspiring instead of scolding, instead of using harsh words. Tengah marah ni. So just because I can, because I'm a supervisor, just because I wear the cap or a supervisor, I have the authority, I have the power, just because I can. Hence I raise my voice. Just because I can, hence I use harsh words. Just because I can, and I know I can get away with it because I'm a supervisor, so I'm being unkind. Sedangkan I can be kind and still achieve the same target, achieve the same objective of what I wanted to, what I set out to do. That is for you to change, for you to learn. And when we talk about being humble, it is also to show our students that we are ready to take the bullet for them. What is that? What is that supposed to mean? Meaning that if the student is to be blamed on something pertaining to the work, we will stand up and take the blame. A very typical example, a student goes for progress assessment, the panelists commented on something, for example, a test setup, right? A test setup. And we happen to be there. We are not there, that is different. So we happen to be there in the room, for example. If it's not PKB, you're always in the room, everybody is sharing that. And the panelists were asking or commenting on a certain test setup. And the student was getting a bit nervous now because you are there, the supervisor is there, and the student knows that the particular test setup has been recommended and proposed, or in fact probably has been designed by the supervisor. So student we as a supervisor, we have the responsibility to stand up for the student. Kalau student tak tahu macam mana jawab, contohnya lah, bukan survivor, I'm talking about progress, where it's an open presentation, for example, a sharing session and things like that. That's a simple example. And in other situations, it could be a case of dealing with the industry, if there's an industrial partnership in the project, or liaising dengan orang luar, if a civil project, we always deal with JPL, JKR, and so on. If something goes wrong, for example, right, some blame is coming down, or some criticism is coming down, we should be upfront to take it and not allow this one. Even if it's the student's fault, it's okay. It's okay. Depan tu yang minta maaf, bagi pihak student kita minta maaf, gini gitu. Belakang, masuk bilik, tutup pintu, you nak tegur dalam bilik. Cuba jangan criticize, jangan criticize the student over dia. Jangan over the top depan orang lain. Especially depan kawan-kawan yang lain. Criticize weak macam tu, touch and go okay. Nak criticize dahsyat-dahsyat tu, masuk bilik, tutup pintu. Macam tu. Nak raise the voice pun masuk bilik, tutup pintu. Sebab kita tegur depan-depan tu sangat menggurui perasaan dia, sangat mengaibkan dia, dan akan meruntuhkan their confidence dia. Kita tak tahu. We don't know, kan? We don't know what the student has gone through sebelum the student come to us. We don't know what kind of background, what kind of childhood. And we don't know how far the student has come to reach this place where he or she is doing a PhD or doing a master. Very high level dah. Dah sampai dah. Kesampaian orang kata, kan? We don't know all the way apa telah lalui. And we don't know our one word, mungkin one simple word may hurt the student so badly that the student give up, or the student simpan dalam hati. Dendam tak apa. Luka sampai permanently damage dia, permanently put it inside the student, kan? Traumatized or something like that. So the student may still grad with a PhD or master and stuff like that. But forever, what we say is so hurtful, kan? Dia macam semat dalam hati dia, and forever it hurts. And forever is something that pull the student back. So the next time a student come across a similar situation, the student will be holding himself or herself back. Tak berani nak ke depan. So dulu Mas Mazhar pernah cakap, I gini-gitu similar situation. So itu yang kata, kan, kalau kita dah tersilap, kita minta maaf. Kalau kita dah student buat salah, mana student tak buat salah, dia buat salah, kita dah tegur. Kita pun tahu dalam kemarahan kita tu, kita hilang sabar, kita tertinggi suara, terguna perkataan yang mungkin kasar lah, kan. Besok lusa, pujuk balik lah. Say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I was so harsh on you. But you must know, as well as a part, kan, you must know, I did it because I wanted you to become better. So, bukannya kata kita nak pergi olol-olol kat budak, nak pujuk dia, bukan macam tu. Sebagai manusia, kan, sebagai manusia, kita pun pernah jadi student. Kita pun bekerja, kita pun ada bos. Kalau bos tahu kita pun tak boleh tidur malam tu. Kan 3 hari 3 malam tak boleh tidur tu. Tekangkan mata, ingat-ingat, terngiang-ngiang kat telinga apa bos cakap. Bos tak sengaja pun. Bukan tuju kat kita pun cakap umum macam tu, tapi kita terasa, kan. Jangan kita auto-sentap dia macam tu. Sometimes it's not about the person being sensitive or not, kan. Sometimes it's about nak berlaku, kan, nak jadi asabnya. So kita terasa lah macam tu. Sometimes it's for a greater good, we don't know. Sometimes it's for a greater good. Nak berlaku, semua seizinnya. Next slide please, Doctor. Okay, my dear friends, this is probably the most common one, and we always blame it on one girl. Miscommunication. Miscommunication ni memang selalu dipersalahkan lah. It is kind of ironic, kan? The biggest problem in communication is that we thought that it's taken place, sedangkan it never took place. So we thought message conveyed clearly, loud and clear, crystal clear, rupanya tidak. Crystal clear tapi salah message. Memang crystal clear tu tapi wrong end of the stick. Itu memang lazim berlaku lah, kan. Kita pun tahu. As that's why, how can we make sure that when we see something, we give an arahan to our student don't always get it wrong. How to make sure of that? I guess there's only one way that we communicate very frequently with our student. Until our student is used to the way we speak, the language we use. If we text, our student is used to the way we text. The student can read between the lines, whether it's an instruction, whether it's a suggestion, or whether it's a reminder, or whether the supervisor is showing signs of annoyance. Contoh, student repeatedly cakap tak buat lagi, tak serahkan lagi draft tu contohnya. So, unless we have frequent interaction with the student, sama ada verbally ataupun in text form or email form, the student cannot gauge us. There's no rapport. Kan kita selalu katakan, communication punya key is always rapport-nya. Kalau tak ada rapport, susah tu masuk telinga. Kita boleh ingat kalau dulu supervisor kita cakap pada kita apa-apa, nak suruh kita buat ni buat tu, kalau dia cakap sekali tu, kita tak faham, mula-mula tu, kita segan nak ditanya kan. So kita berharap berdoa dia cakap lagi kali dua. Dia ulang, dia ulang. Oh, dia ulang cepat-cepat catatkan. Ya, kalau dah tak ulang, tapi kita masih tak faham, dia nak tanya, okey kita tanya. So tapi tanya, supervisor terangkan, kita masih tak faham ni. So ini kali kedua ni cakap kali pertama tak faham. Kali kedua kita tanya, masih tak faham, macam mana ni ya? Tanya kali ketiga kan nanti, apalah budak ni tak faham. So kita pun dah dilema. So we pause sekejap. When we were student, what was our wish at the time? Kali kedua tak faham ni. We wish that we could just ask, or we wish our supervisor would just ask, faham tak? Kalau tak saya terangkan sekali lagi. We wish our supervisor say that kan. So that kita tak rasa malu, kita tak rasa takut, kita yakin, kita boleh cakap, tak faham. Dengan gembira, anggap, saya tak faham ni. Boleh tak doktor tolong terangkan semula? Jadi mungkin one of the things that we can practice saying is that start to read our students mimik muka kot. That's why, how can we read? How can we understand our student ni faham ke tak faham? Blank ke? Faham ke? Tengah proses ke apa ni? Muka processing dengan muka tak faham can be the same face. Yeah? Some students have got, some people have got expressionless face. So we don't know what the student is thinking kan. Lagi-lagi lah kalau jarang jumpa, PKP lah, teks sini, teks sana, kita WhatsApp sini, WhatsApp sana, cakap phone tak jumpa muka, tak tahu dia tengah fikir apa. So it's very important, perhaps for us to practice saying this, asking the student, do you understand? If not, I can repeat. Follow dengan statement tu. If you don't, let me know, I can say it again. Actually, I do that a lot in class because I know I'm a bad teacher. So, I nampak krik-krik aja kan, I tanya, okey tak okey, saya terangkan semula. Ada yang sudah yang berani, dia angkat tangan, ya doktor tolong ulang. Tapi ramai kan segan-segan kan. So you can see the blank faces yang kita ni tak tahu kan. Dia tak apalah, ulang je. And bila ulang, you cuba jeling ke belakang, you kan nampak, semua tulang kelang kabut salin ni. So macam tak faham lah. Similarly, research students, kita jumpa dia one to one macam tu. Kita cakap dia semua kat dia tau. Dia kena catat. Kita catat kalau yang apa nama tu, tech savvy sikit, minta izin dia rekodkan kita balik pun dia kena transcribe pun kerja juga. Kalau ikutkan dia dengan catat yang important aja lah kan. Tapi student being student kan, kita pun tahu dulu supervisor kita cakap tu untuk catat je. So supervisor kena tanya, you catat apa tu? Tak ada semua benda I cakap pun you nak tak tulis kan. Tapi student being student kan, you must try to understand pun. And we should as supervisor, we try to learn to listen and listen and listen. Listen yang macam mana? Attentively. Betul-betul listen. Betul-betul listen. I agree dengan tetapi cakap tadi kan, mula-mula tu kita akan banyak jumpa dia, banyak pegang dia kan. Lepas tu patutnya dia lebih cakap. As time goes on in the duration of the supervision or in our relationship with our student kan, by right the amount of talking should be shifting from us talking a lot in the beginning, sliding to report equally amount, for the equal amount in the middle, towards the end of student study dekat Nabi Bible, dia cakap lebih baik kita ya. In the bidang that kita tengah kaji, the scope kajian the thesis, sepatutnya pelajar menjadi, kalau tidak lebih terror kita, sama terror macam kita. Kalau hujung tu masih kita yang lebih terror, dan kita yang cakap lebih daripada dia, then somehow along the way, we have not quite taught the student as the student should achieve lah, macam tu lah. So, that's something to think about, huh? The amount of talking should shift, the weight of talking though should shift towards the student as time goes on, and we should learn to listen attentively to what the student is saying. Daripada cara dia cakap, apa dia cakap tu, kata-kata dia guna tu, mimik muka dia, kita boleh cuba gauge, we try to gauge dia tengah rasa apa ni, dia yakin ke tak yakin, faham tak faham kan. So we have to learn to listen, and sometimes we are talking short ni, talking our work ni, tapi kalau nada suara dia, sebab kita biasa jangan kita dia sedih. Okay, let's stop this. If something bothering, mula dah menangis nak cerita. Rupanya ayah sakit dan bagai-bagai. Contohnya lah. So tidak ke, masa kita belajar undergraduate, kita ada part penasihat akademik, but when we are doing a research, our supervisor is our bapa angkat, our mak angkat lah. Kalau tak cakap dengan dia, kalau tak kita, siapa lagi dia nak bercakap dengan kan? Itulah. Next slide please, Doctor. And related to that, we also talk about always try to bring out the best in our student. Kan student kita ni, dia ingat setakat tu je lah dia mampu, setakat tu je. But it's our job as a supervisor, as a teacher, to push the student, right? To encourage the student, and to help the student to polish up the skills, to polish up the talent, especially the talent. And not everyone is gifted in creating beautiful Excel graphs. Yeah, you want to come across students who, wow, every single page is a different kind of graph coming out, different format lah maksud saya. Dah tegur dah, kena satukan, sejeniskan, uniformkan, standardized and all that, but the students can't quite get it. And then say, ini kenapa? So kita nak marah. Just because we are naturally with the talent of being very organized, it doesn't mean that everyone is born like this. So that is something I got to teach the student. Again, there may be a student that is exceptionally good in doing PowerPoint slides, for example, very creative. In fact, using more than PowerPoint, those freewares or some software which are more animated and stuff like that. So we could encourage our students sebenarnya and tell the students that, look, you are very good at this, so maybe for your poster or for your slides, so you could do a bit more and things like that. And it is our job. It is our job to help the students to align their gifts, their special gifts, their special skills, their special talent with their research work at the moment. At the moment. Sebab apa? Sebab kita berjaya buat tu, maka dia tahu, dia sedar, oh, dia punya gift tu bukan saja untuk biasa-biasa, untuk hari biasa-biasa, untuk benda yang bukan untuk kerja dia. Rupanya boleh diterapkan dalam kerja dia. So besok dia tinggalkan kita dah graduate, dia pergi kerja, dia pandailah lanjutkan diri dia. Dia pandailah bawa diri dia dengan dia punya special gift tu. Lebih mengasah, lebih menajamkan lagi. Tapi kalau kita sebagai supervisor, kita nampak pun buat tak nampak, atau kita tak kisah pun tak pernah ambil tahu, nak pergi nampakkan. Dan nampak tu, dia bagi tahu dia supaya dia pun nampak dan boleh asal lagi. Dan apalah kita dah buat kat dia kan. Kalau PhD, 3-4 tahun dan kita apalah kita buat kat dia. Masa dia masuk dia macam ni, masa dia keluar pun dia macam ni lagi. Dia patut masuk macam ni, keluar enhanced version ya. Like those Iron Man suit. Masuk versi Mark 1, keluar Mark 6 contohnya lah. Kalau masuk ordinary Saiyan Man, keluar super Saiyan contohnya lah, patut macam tu lah kan. Barulah kita have done our job and make the student seen and taken out something that is there but the student didn't quite see kan. And this is a pepatah, Chinese idiom. If I translate, it says that these are, we all know that the primary colors, blue is a primary color and green is derived from blue. But green is a lot brighter, a lot more vibrant compared to blue. Right? That is like us with the students. A student come to us, they are light blue, we are dark blue. So we train the student and the student become dark blue like us. If we could, and we should, the student should leave us green and not blue. Brighter than us, greater than us, more amazing than us. I think that is the ultimate and greatest dream of every teacher, every supervisor, that the student will achieve greater than what we have achieved. And that is something. Yeah. I remember in my PSM thesis, PM Azrin Dabasara F-class was my supervisor. In my thesis, he for autograph, he wrote this line for me. Moga berjaya di peringkat yang lebih tinggi. Moga berjaya di peringkat yang lebih tinggi. What happened with that? Disebabkan ayat tu kan. Satu ayat je. Supervisor tulis macam tu kan. Bawa sampai ke PhD. Dalam bidang tanah. Tak tukar bidang dah. Macam tu. So it goes on to show how powerful a supervisor punya kata-kata is. How powerful the influence of a supervisor is on the student, on our student. Next slide please, Doctor. And we should be very ready in our acknowledgement. Dia dah buat hebat, dia dah berjaya. Walaupun siapkan draft tu, first time buat draft, walaupun kita tahu ini bagi 50% aja apa, we should say well done. For a first draft, good. Macam tu. Dr. Hafiz cakap tu, I rasa bagus tu. We should grade our students. Grade our students. Bagi markah, tak payah duduk turut sangat. Just grade. Kita sediakan a simple element of assessment. So, kenapa kalau I give you 80 marks for this first draft ni, kenapa tengok cara tulis tu bahasa I give you 8 marks. Citation 5 markah je. Sebab apa? Tengok the citation. Kelang kabut. Tak ada ikut format. Kejap macam ni, kejap macam tu. Contohnya. So, the student will learn. That's a good one. So that is something I learned. Thank you very much, Dr. Hafiz. That's something I learned as well. As I grade them. And so kita commented tu draft thesis, draft report, draft paper dia. Tapi if we put the marks there and put the breakdown, small breakdown, then the student will learn apa yang I lemah kan. Not just the comments there. And you know, when we start to acknowledge the student, say Tanya, well done, very good. This is good. You know, kalau nak comment apa-apa pun cakap depan good dulu lah. Macam tu. Surely apa dia buat tu tak adalah semua buruk kan, mesti ada yang baik punya. So kita highlight yang bagus-bagus dulu, baru tegur yang kemudian tu. So dia boleh accept. So dia dah happy kan, dia dah berbunga-bunga. So sekarang dah bunga-bunga, kita tarik sikit dia daun tu, dia okey je. Kalau bunga tu dia tak puji, dia kembang semekangnya tu, kita buat tak tahu. You cuba pergi dekat-dekat, cuba sentuh daun dia, you sentuh je, dia dah melenting lah. So merajuk dengan kita seminggu. So we don't want that to happen And we know that when we give acknowledgement kan, kita akan boost their confidence. Kita boost their confidence dah naik, apa akan berlaku? Dia lebih committed. Tengok lepas macam lokomotif Shinkansen pun kalah macam tu lah. And this motivation, I always tell students students selalu suka tanya, doktor macam mana motivate diri I, macam mana motivate lah saya. I like to think, this is just my view, there's no such thing as motivating others. Motivation comes from within. That's why it's called self-motivation. So motivation is a sendiri benda, confidence, motivation. So to make the students, to raise the motivation, to boost the motivation of students, and boosting the confidence level of students, we got to make the student feel good. We got to make the student feel that they are good. We got to make the student feel that they can be better. And that's the most important thing. We almost always forget as supervisors to praise the student. Because we take it for granted. The student, no lah, you memang bagus lah, tak payah cakap pun, you tahu you bagus. Betapa kita mengharapkan our parents praise us. Betapa kita menagih satu ayat syabas, well done daripada supervisor kita dulu yang tak datang-datang. So why don't we do that? And I'll wrap this particular element tentang acknowledgement ni, tentang meraihkan. Meraihkan termasuk birthday kita bukan main student kita raihkan gini gitu. Apa salahnya student kita birthday kita pun raihkan. You have a group of students, so why don't we keep everybody's birthday in check? Now PKP tak ada, bila tak ada PKP tu. Apa kata? So it's fun. So every month we have a cake to eat. Or every month we have 2 cakes to eat. Excessive eating pula. Lain cerita lah. Or every month we celebrate once. Everybody's birthday that is in that month, then we celebrate together. We buy a small gift or things like that. So people suka rasa dia dihargai, diraihkan. That's acknowledgement. Right. The next slide please, Doctor. And that would be number 8. That would be the last story to tell. That is about finding the time or making time rather to develop our students. Tadi kan dia cakap they bring out the best in our students kan. They bring out the best in our students means that they help to see what they are good at, their existing talent macam tu, apa kita nak buat. Yelah Doktor Suraya tak boleh makan kek, kita virtual kek aja sekarang. nanti dah buka hampa, jom. Kalau kat Pago, jom kita pergi makan mi Bandung udang kalah. Macam tu yeah, we're talking about this point on developing and growing us. Kalau kita bayangkan student kita macam a baby plant given to us, what will you do your baby plant or baby fish? Sorry I cakap fish sebab I keep fish lah, I think of it of fishes. So when you have baby plant or baby fish, what do you do? Betul. Jaga bersungguh. Pegang pun dua tangan menatang minyak yang penuh pun kalah. Ini minyak panas yang mendidih lagi, yang ditatang tu. So sungguh takut dia terspill sikit pun. Alright? And we always want them to become better and smarter than when they came to us. Datang kat kita kalau warna biru baby cair, biru cair yang baby blue tu, bila dah pertengahan tu dah nampak nak ke arah biru cerah sikit, biru yang royal blue sikit. Bila hujung tu pada navy blue dah kot. Bila tinggalkan saya, you baik-baik jadi ada green sikit ya. Macam tu lah. Remember talk about that? Green coming out from blue, but green is far more vibrant compared to blue. We always want our students to be better than us, kan? as a supervisor, we have the responsibility sebenarnya to cultivate the talent of students and to encourage the students to learn new skills. Sebenarnya yang dia tak ada, contoh public speaking, a typical student, I tak pandai rentang, I tak pandai, I takut, I malu. Hello, look at me. Do I look like I can do public speaking? When my primary school friends, we have reunions, they are all very surprised, shocked, bukan surprised, shocked that I became a teacher. I cannot imagine I mengajar, cannot imagine I menjadi educator. Tak boleh bayangkan. So what do you imagine I become? Anything but that. Okay lah, I take it as a compliment. Anything but that lah. But then, itu takdirnya kan. And about these skills that we should encourage our students to pick up, academic and non-academic. Academic is straightforward lah kan, technical writing lah, syariah literature lah dan sebagainya kan. We don't take it for granted. Students may not know how to search for literature. Bila baru-baru masuk tu kan tak pandai. Sila-sila tak pandai, dah copy paste bagi kita ajar ni macam nak tulis literature review. So kena pegang dua tangan, bimbing awal-awal. So those academic skills. The non-academic skills we are talking about, getting our students, encouraging them to do things as outside the research. Tolonglah, jangan nak asyik hadap tu. Contoh pergi buat CSR. Contoh join program-program atau fakulti yang international day ke, international week ke. Suruh dia terlibat juga menjadi komiti ke. Benda-benda macam tu. Tak mau asyik pasal dia PhD atau master je. What did we say? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. They all work, all PhD, all masters, asyik dengan research, talk shop all the time. Anybody also will fall sick. Again, sekarang tengah PKP semua online kan. I was being reminded the other day by a senior engineer. We have this what you call online fatigue. Very fatigued, very tired. So asyik online je. Dah lah online tu very taxing kan to the eyes and all. Lagi-lagi lah orang ingat kan kalau ada online dia asyik ada kat situ tu panggil meeting tak henti-henti round the clock macam tu. I'm sure my dear friends you pun pernah kena experience juga sampai malam kadang-kadang ada different time zone conference kat luar ke apa kan. So itulah. Right, next slide please Doctor. We have come to the end of it. I've just wrapped up the 8 stories that we talked about in the single slide. I've given the PDF version to Dr. Azrin. If you like, you can take it from her if it's of any good. And the next piece, Doctor, allow me to end my sharing yang tak seberapa ni with a small quote, not by me, by somebody else. I'm not that clever. So I pinjam dia quote. Dia kata, supervision is an opportunity to bring someone back to their own mind and to show them how good they can be. Cuba kita hayati kejam. Bring them back to their own mind. Bring them back to their own mind. They are already there. It is all there now. So it's our job to show them how to be. That is our job, kan? So that's it. That's all I've put up for this 1 hour sharing with you. As I said, I'm not the best person to talk to you about supervision. There are many out there. In fact, among the audience here, I'm sure there are many of you who are more qualified than me to talk about it. I do hope that, nonetheless, I do hope that whatever I share with you, as everyone has a story to tell, that the stories I share with you could be, if not a lot, a little bit useful and beneficial to you. So thank you very much. Salam balik pada Dr. Shikin.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chang. It's very invaluable sharing session. So we open for the Q&A.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning, Prof. Chan. Thank you for sharing your experience. Very good talk. Very nice talk. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'm feeling like I'm in UK now with the British accent. All right. Anyway, I reckon that in supervision, yeah, I think we are in Malaysia. The way how we treat our student is quite differ compared to when we study in UK. Yeah. Because of the culture, the culture. I fully agree with you because British style, when they supervise student, when they score the student, and then they will ask the student come back to them and then advise them and then tell them what they've done wrong, right? This normally happen, and sometimes they bring you to the bar to have a drink when they celebrate each other when they are viva. That's right. And even I remember when first time I get into my lab, my supervisor telling me, Professor GCL, he tell me what, Zaidi, we are in a big family. We are in a big family. Yeah. So big family mean to me sometimes. So we imagine if you have one student, it's okay. Very easy for you to treat because you're only dealing with one student. But then imagine if you have many children with different behavior. So in learning, you have to divide it. So some kids, they can listen to us. Some other kids, they are very stubborn. Yeah. Some kids, yeah, is intermediate. And even some kids, when you scold them, they can summon you, they can sue you. So we must be very careful in supervision, because in UK, yeah. So when we are study abroad in UK, we know that we are bonding with our government. Anything happen, you have to pay. If you do return home without any PhD, you have to pay the money. But in Malaysia, in different situation, by the way, in different situation, like in the case of most of our foreign students, by the way, they are rushing in doing their work, and then they come back to their country, they go back to their country, and then they didn't settle down their work. That's why I keep telling most of our international students, yeah, the difference between if you study in abroad, like in UK, US, the culture different because they follow the ethic, yeah, right. So in Malaysia, sometimes the case of suing, you have to be careful because some students, they are very clever, they can sue, yeah, and I'm fully agree with you. But the thing that I say now is not, some is from my experience when I study, some is from my supervision, yeah. But anyway, I'm agree with you. Even though no matter what, it take about 8 years, 10 years time, but as long as our student can pass, yeah, because I can see from Dr. Hafiz slide just now, there is a percentage of fail and pass, and it didn't guarantee they can pass or not. Some students, they think that they register under UTHM, they can get a scroll, especially most of students from Arab, yeah, Arab country, they come here, yeah, they need to know, we are like washing machine. Dirty clothes, when you put into the washing machine, we come out a clean clothes. So we need to clean them to become a beautiful mind, a beautiful person, something like that. In terms of what we call, we need to enhance their cognitive skill. We need to enhance their effective skill. We need to enhance their psychomotor. So at the end of the day, yeah, when they can become a good scientist, a good engineer, it all come from the process. PhD, the supervision is a process, a long process between, we are not dealing with what Prof. Chang said just now, we are not dealing with the machine, we are dealing with the people. So we need to look at on every single aspect, their behavior sometimes, but I'm fully agree with you, it's all come from self-motivation, self-confidence of the student itself. We as supervisor, we cannot correct or improve their motivation. It's all come from them. But I think we as supervisor, we must give them a challenge. So they must take a challenge. We give them a challenge. You have to fulfill that challenge. You have to fulfill all the objective. So that's my opinion. Thank you, Prof. Chan. A very nice sharing. So thank you. Yeah, it's only opinion.
Thank
you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Zaidi. For the last, I have one question, Dr. Chan. Actually, for the passive research students, what is the best practice for the SV to guide them? And to what extent should we guide them? Passive research student. Meaning like dia kesannya kalau kita diam dia pun lagi diam.
Okay.
Kalau kita tak cari dia lagi lah melarikan diri, macam tu lah contoh.
Mana tahu Dr. Shiki dia diam-diam ubi berisi. Okay, alright. Thank you for the question. I see what we can. Let's see what we can do. Let me share with you a story. My little experience with a student. I had a student when she first came to me. When we have our supervision meeting, she sits at the edge of a chair. Ke hujung kerusi dia, sebesar-besar kerusi tu, dah lah kecil kurus orangnya. Duduk kat penghujung macam ni, tertinggik macam tu. And bawa kertas, bawa pensil. Pensil tau, mechanical pencil, not a pen. And bila kita bincang, catat, I tengok dia catat. Tulis dengan pensil, dah lah dengan pensil. Pensil 2B tu ada check dah dia punya pencil net tu. Tetapi tulis dengan begitu ringan sekali, memang faintnya, so faint the writing. So daripada sini, kita pause sekejap, we think about it. Cuba kita baca the gesture of this student, the body language. She sits at the edge of the chair. She writes with a pencil and she writes without pressing. A student who has no confidence. Nampak tak? Very, very low confidence level. And then we proceed. When we speak to the student, we notice that she always tunduk. Contohnya, always tunduk. Tunduk, catat je. Dia kata, faham tak? Faham tak? Dia pun tak angkat kepala. Macam sini dia kata, diam je. Look at me. Faham tak? Dia pun renung kat kita. Kita tak pasti kebil, kita pun kebil. Ni kita saling kebil, mengkebil ke apa, tak pasti lah. Macam tu. Lepas tu, you have to talk to me. Kita pujuk dia cakap, you must talk to me. You don't talk, I don't know what you think. So kita kan bersabar. Cakap macam I ni, bila I tanya soalan kat student I, my students already know. The first question has not finished, I already wanted to answer because I'm moving on to the second question. So my students really poor students macam tu lah. Kesian kena layan I. So bayangkan dia, I tak boleh sekali cakap 5 soalan kot. Dia tak faham I tengah cakap apa. It's all above her, beyond her dah macam tu. So kena tanya satu-satu soalan. Okay, boleh. Faham tak? Dah, tunggu dia jawab. Then guide dia. Okay, next we move to the next soalan. Can you see that? Slowly we do that kan. Weeks after weeks. Then kita nampak, then sambil-sambil tu kena selingan, kena selit-selitkan. You boleh buat, tengok dah mampu buat dah. Hari tu kan tak pandai kira, sekarang dah pandai kira lah tengok. Then mula selitkan. Apa kata, lain kali datang bawa pen. Tulis pensil kan bahaya. Kalau terkena air kan dah hilang. Ke tangan kita basah-basah, ada peluh, terlap macam ni pun boleh hilang. Mula tulis dengan pen. Okay ya? Lepas tu, adalah masanya tegur lah. Kenapa kerja macam ni kan? Dah marah sikit kena pujuk balik. So you tahu dia tak ada confidence punya. What did we say just now? Kalau you tahu dia memang sangat low level confidence, you dah tegur, you kena pujuk balik cepat dia. So kata habis. Apa yang ada tu hancur punya macam tu. So it's like, dia ada gelas yang kosong kan? Gelas ni sini ada confidence level. Dah berjaya kita isikan sikit, kita marah dia dah mula nak turun. So sebelum turun cepat tuang balik. Kata you boleh buat ni. Tengok kan boleh buat. Tu kan tak boleh buat. Sekarang buat lebih sikit lagi. Boleh lagi. Macam tu. Then pantau. You know what happened at the end of 1 year? I baru perasan tau. Bukan saya boleh berbidas dengan saya. Duduk dah sandar kerusi dah sekarang cakap dengan I. Doktor, macam ni. Oh, sekarang engineer ya. Budak Melayu perempuan. And contact I lagi. Dia budak Terengganu kan. Siap hantar keropok lagi. So, isteri betapa baiknya kerja sebagai pensyarah ni. Kalau anak murid ingat lah. Tak ingat pun tak apa. I hope I answer your question lah sikit. It's got to be sabar lah.
Okay. So inspiring. Very nice sharing, nice talk Dr. Chang.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So masa sangat-sangat mencemburui kita. Okay. So terima kasih Dr. Chang. Kena menerima jemputan. Okay. So